Welcome to the Vault Excel. Thank you all so much for joining me. This information is pertaining to Lori Vallow Daybell. As most of you know, the trial has come to a finale, closing arguments. We are waiting for closing arguments. The second part of this live is pertaining to the West couple's witness. A woman has testified that the children were pressured into saying certain information, coercion from the social worker that interviewed them initially 2.5 years ago. She believes that some things were done right in that interrogation, but some things were not right. So I want to get your opinion pertaining to what you have heard from the trial information. Do you believe the children were coerced in the initial interrogation when they were first asked about their siblings and where they were and how they were treated by their parents and abuse and so on and so forth? And once again, it has come down to the wire, basically, for both trials. The state and the defense has rested in Ms. Vallow's trial. So we're basically waiting for closing arguments. And also, Mr. Bassett, John Bassett, is facing trial here in Knoxville, Tennessee for the murder of Deshina Kyle. At the end of the day, I will bring you said commentary of what transpired in court. Her family has spoken out in commentary, and I will bring you that later today when I get more information to what happened in court here in Knoxville today. And I also got information that the guy who was interrogated in the disappearance for Natalie Holloway, he is being extradited back here to the United States. One article said temporarily. I don't know what that means exactly. I didn't open up the article, but he is to come back here. Why, I do not know. Hopefully it's pertaining to this case of Miss Natalie Holloway, because this is a long-winded case of no justice for her. No one has stood account for her disappearance. And I find it very strange. All this time has come and that child has not surfaced alive or deceased. And I think most of us know that she's not alive. And I would think the worst case scenario, she was probably disposed of in the ocean, because naturally it was an island surrounded by water. But let's get into this commentary pertaining to Miss Vallow. Law and Crime Network is the source. Please take the polls on my community board. I want to get your opinion pertaining to all this said information and updates pertaining to Lori and Chad and her niece. Do you believe the niece should also be charged for conspiracy? You see, she was not introduced into the trial to testify. I think they should have brought her in. I wouldn't have cared what I thought she might say or not say, because she would have probably been caught with her leg in the trap had she testified. She would have tripped up and told on herself. You should have had her come in. That's the one person you definitely should have had testify. Hell, I think Chad should have testified too. That's just my personal opinion. Considering her children were found on his property, why not? Just saying. Just saying. I mean, I don't know the legalities, because he's also facing trial for murder. So maybe his attorney would feel like he would incriminate himself by testifying in Lori's trial. But those are pertinent people that should have been introduced into the case. Law and Crime Network is the source.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for joining us. The time has finally arrived. Closing arguments are slated today in the Doomsday Cult Mom trial. 49-year-old Lori Vallow Daybell faces charges for the deaths of her two children, 7-year-old JJ Vallow, 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. She is also charged in connection to the death of her husband's first wife, Tammy Daybell. Her husband, Chad Daybell, will be tried on similar charges at a later date. Now, the jury will soon get to decide Lori Vallow Daybell's fate, as she faces up to life in prison if she is convicted. And we are going to live stream that verdict for you. As soon as it comes down, we're going to have extended coverage for you when the verdict is announced. So definitely stay with us here today at Law and Crime. A lot is going to be happening. But for right now, I do want to bring our eyes and our ears into this conversation, Long Crime's very own Gigi McKelvey, who is outside of the Ada County Courthouse. She has been inside that courthouse for us, giving us a play-by-play of what has been happening in that courtroom. Good morning, Gigi. We are coming to the end. This is a very different day. Closing arguments are coming up. Give us a layout of what we can expect for the day.
We really don't know about any time frame of how long they have for closings. That wasn't announced. I don't think the defense is going to take a long time. I mean, their crosses have been short. Their openings were super short. I think that'll be the same today. So I think the main spotlight is going to be definitely on the prosecution to just kind of tie it all up and give these jurors a complete picture when they go back to deliberate. It's very alive here. The most crowded I've seen it actually since I've been here since day one.
Okay, a few things to break down. Let's just be clear for our audience. We don't have an idea if there's an announcement of a verdict to when it's read. It could happen in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Sometimes in cases, they're given an hour. Do we have any idea about when we hear there's an announcement of a verdict, when we'll actually hear it?
Yeah, we've been told 1 hour from the time they announce it to when it's read, and it's going to be a little bit chaotic. So we've been implementing a ticket system every day we put in for a seat in the courthouse. And for verdict, though, it's first come, first serve. So I think it's going to be a madhouse up there, people rushing to get in that courtroom. So we are going to camp out here in the hallway so that we are there to bring Long Crimes viewers the reactions of Lori, the jurors, everybody.
And it will be live streamed. We will see it. The judge put an order in place that we will see this verdict come down. I want to talk to you about the crowd. You mentioned it's a different kind of feeling. It's a different kind of atmosphere today. Walk us through who's around you, the media presence, and whether or not there are particular players in this case who have shown up for the conclusion of the Lori Vallow Daybell trial.
No players have shown up yet, although I do think sometimes they take another entrance where they're not right here where all the media is. There's media here. It's not as much as I thought would be, but there are more people than I thought there would be. It looks like the overflow room, which is downstairs. We're on the 4th floor for the actual courtroom. The overflow room holds, I think, maybe 200 people. On average, maybe 20 daily, but I believe it's a jammed, packed house today. People just wanting to hear these closings and see her reaction. So it's definitely a lot of buzz, a lot of people. How long do you think this is going to take? Just a lot of chit chatter about what's to come for the day.
Okay, and I'll ask you in a minute. I'll give you time to prepare when you think this verdict will come in once the closings wrap up. I'll give you time to marinate on that. In the meantime, John Pryor, who is Chad Daybell's attorney, my understanding he was in court yesterday. Is that true?
He was. He's been a permanent fixture almost here about every day. And it's interesting because I've heard a lot of people, if he goes down to the overflow room, he may talk to people who are sitting down there, but there are times where it seems like he seems uncomfortable when certain things are brought out in court, especially dealing with his client, Chad. Yeah. You know, he gets to gauge how the general public and the jury is taking things like this. So I'm sure, you know, he's got a lot to talk to Chad about, especially once this verdict comes down, depending on what it is.
Okay, so Gigi, I'm getting word. We got to wrap up because I know you have to jump in line to get the seat. I do want to ask you really quickly 2 things. One, what are some of the highlights you think the prosecution's going to, pinpoint in their closing? And when do you think we're going to get a verdict?
I think that the prosecution is unfortunately going to have to show the pictures of Tylee and JJ and Tammy one more time to drive home why we're here. Yep. Why are you about to go back and deliberate? Right here. I think that they've got to tie in. The biggest thing for me is I think they've got to tie in the conspiracy with Tammy Daybell and just point out she was wedding ring shopping, wedding dress shopping, looking for places to get married in Hawaii. That shows that common scheme that, she didn't have a crystal ball and could be like a psychic and say she's going to die in a month. Yep. She knew the plan. She knew it with the kids. She knew it with Charles. I don't think it's going to be lost on this jury. So my prediction, if not by late today, I'm going to go with by lunchtime tomorrow. I think we have a verdict. They're ready. I see it in their faces.
Hello, what it is.
Okay, Gigi McKelvey, great reporting. Thank you so much. I know you have to head in there, and we'll make sure to catch up with you a little bit later. Thanks so much, Gigi. Okay. Now, in the meantime, let me just tell you my thoughts on what I think the prosecution needs to highlight today. Gigi really hit it home in terms of really trying to tie up the Tammy Daybell case, because some have been arguing that maybe that's a little bit more nebulous, maybe that's not so clear, but we cannot forget that there was this evidence presented that on the night that someone tried to kill Tammy Daybell, remember someone tried to shoot her?
Ooh, sorry about that. Hold on one second.
The prices blow my mind. I feel so rich. Oh, yeah.
Commercial. Sorry about that, you guys. I can't work this device with this case on here. Let me take this off of here. 1 second, everybody. Oh, too much going on with these people, man. I tell you, it's just like, what in the world?
And allegedly said, idiot can't do anything right. Presumably speaking, we're talking about Alex Cox. If the jury were to accept that, then maybe they believe she was part of the plot to kill Tammy Daybell. Now, we know that Lori Vallow Daybell is not actually charged with the murder of Tammy Daybell, but if the jury accepts the fact that she was a part of an agreement to kill Tammy, and someone in that conspiracy, that group together, one of her co-conspirators took a step in furtherance of that plot, she could be found guilty. Now, in terms of the kids, there are so many things to highlight in this case. There are the odd statements of Lori Vallow Daybell seemingly predicting that something was going to happen with the kids. There was the conversations, the text messages between her and Chad where she's talking about the difficulty with the kids, the demons, the likelihood that they would die. We know that they do end up dying. Is that just a little too convenient? Will the jury believe that she was a part of it? There's a strong piece of forensic evidence we can't forget that I imagine the prosecution is going to tie in. A hair that has been associated, a hair belonging to Lori Vallow Daybell, was on the tape that wrapped JJ's body. That is one really crucial, significant piece of forensic evidence. And then there are the phone calls. The phone calls with Chad while authorities are searching his property, and she doesn't seem all that surprised. There was a video that was played this week of when Lori is actually served papers while she's on her honeymoon with Chad 2 weeks after Tammy died. Doesn't seem all that surprised she's being served with papers to turn over the kids. Why? It's the argument that she knew what happened to the children. And I mentioned the phone calls. So there's these really difficult phone calls that were played for the jury. One with Colby Ryan, one with Summer Shiflett. This is her son. This is her sister, where she doesn't quite tell them what happened to the kids after their bodies were found. But she doesn't say, I don't know what happened. I'm just as sad as you. I don't know who did this. She knows what happened. And she says, you just don't understand. You don't understand. Time will show what happened. And that is really significant. This is a mother talking about the deaths of her children and is seemingly justifying what happened to them. Those calls, in my opinion, will need to be highlighted by the prosecution. And in terms of the defense, it's a little tough to say. It's been a little tough to say what exactly and where they're going in this case. They haven't called any witnesses. Lori Vallow Daybell wasn't called as a witness. They cross-examined the prosecution witnesses, seemingly trying to show some of them might have had inconsistent statements or that they had these kind of far outlandish beliefs. Could they really be trusted? But there hasn't been so much throwing Chad Daybell under the bus or Alex Cox under the bus. Now, what they may do, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see this, is they're going to say, these are very specific charges that Lori is hit with. Can you definitively show beyond a reasonable doubt that she actively encouraged someone to kill these kids? She was part of the killing of the kids. She plotted to kill the kids. What evidence do you have of those conversations? And maybe if you talk about the burden of proof and beyond a reasonable doubt, that is what they're going to highlight. That's my take. That's what I think we have to look out for, and we will wait and see. Now, as always, I'm going to let you settle. I'm going to let Gigi go in. She's going in. She's going to get a good seat. She's going to come out later because later on today, we are going to have another Q&A session following the closing arguments. Definitely get your questions in. We really enjoyed doing it yesterday. So we will have a Q&A session here on the network. Make sure to submit your questions on YouTube or Facebook or any of the platforms by which Law and Crime you can reach us. In the meantime, if you want to follow more Vallow Daybell updates, follow Gigi's handle at Pretty Lies and Alibis. But that does it for me right now. But stick with us here on Law and Crime for more of our trial coverage. We'll be right back right after the break.
All right, everybody. Law and Crime was uploaded 53 minutes ago. Hit the link if you want to give your opinion pertaining to this case, this trial against Lori Did the state prove its case against her for conspiring to kill Tammy Daybell, the murder of her children, and her husband, Charles Vallow? Do you believe the state proved their case? Did they show she conspired to kill this woman, her children, and also her husband, Mr. Charles? Did the text messages help? Talking of the dark spirits to chat and text messages pertaining to her children, her husband, giving him different names. And this had been going on for months. Her speaking negatively about her husband being a zombie, so on and so forth. The murder of Tammy, they have her coinciding in text speaking of saying Alex couldn't do anything right. So do you believe they have proven their case? Same for the West case. Do you believe the state proved their case that Jacqueline and Trezell West murdered their children? No forensics, no video surveillance of them filming murdering the children or other children being involved. I was hoping to have more evidence in the West case. I just thought there was going to be way more from what the prosecutor said last year. I just thought, oh, they've got, a lot of evidence, but nothing was filmed by the parents, no conversations, no text messages, no pings from phones were introduced into court. So I am kind of shocked. Even with all the searches of the children, we have no pings, no nothing. All we have is the testimony of one boy child, the oldest biological son, saying he saw a child sick, pale, cold. Next day, he's gone. Moved to Cal City. That kid's gone a few days after moving to Cal City. Then we have differences of conversations between the children saying they saw the kids, didn't see the kids. So we have a defense witness saying, oh, well, they coerced the children into conversation. Some things were done right in interrogation. Some things were done wrong. They weren't in a friendly, kid-friendly environment in asking the kids questions, waking them up, blah, blah, blah. Did the state need more forensics? Something to say this was left behind to show a child died, was murdered, sickly, abused. Did they prove that they abused their children? What was brought into court to say they even abused their children? One testimony from a former foster child that said how Jacqueline would restrain the children if they became disorderly. She would basically interlock her legs over their legs and put her arm around their neck to restrain them. Was that enough to say that they were abusive to their children? What it is says no. I don't think the state proved the West. I think they're guilty. They just didn't prove it. And I don't see a jury finding them guilty off a 10-year-old. I wouldn't. I would need forensics. Okay, so you're saying that you don't believe the word of a 10-year-old. So then basically you're saying that the child lied. Is that what you're saying in the chat? That the child lied. So then you have to ask the question that the detectives asked Jacqueline. Well, then why would your child lie on you to say the child was choking? You chopped up food and put it in a bottle. I touched the child. He was cold. The child was pale. A day or so later, he was gone, disappeared, never saw him again. We had a conversation. They also said that the parents admitted to this child that the boy was dead. What do we do? That's a lot of extensive conversation. What it is, it's very extensive information. To be touching a child, seeing the child, then you had a conversation with your parents. So you're saying all of that is a lie. And that no one should believe the child. The fact that nobody can testify to ever seeing the children. So it's not just the boy's testimony. You also have his parents saying, oh, we haven't seen the child. We thought he was over here, over there, this grandparent's house. So it's still saying other people didn't see the children, not just the children, but others in the family. I didn't hear that her mother testified, but I would assume they've asked her, well, hey, they said that did you have the children? Did you have the children? 9 times out of 10, wouldn't she say no? She's not trying to implicate herself to be a co-conspirator. Let's get into that information pertaining to the West. Right now, it's verdict watch pertaining to Lori Vallow Daybell. Will 12 members of a jury in the state of Idaho find her innocent or guilty? Thank you so very much. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $McGangie, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are welcome during this live stream. The link is in the chat. I would like to hear you all's opinions pertaining to two trials who are at the end of their journey. Both trials are at the end of their journey. Do you believe Lori Vallow will be found guilty or innocent? The West couple, guilty, innocent. The link is in the chat. Scroll up, hit the link, hit that panel, and come on up and tell me what you think. I was going to try to make this a worthwhile live stream because we have two major cases running simultaneously on the West Coast. So be heard. Hit the link and come up and give your opinion. Join the panel. Let's get on with the West case. Thank you for joining me. Once again, Law and Crime is the source of that information that I just played for you. I'm going to be reading you two articles pertaining to the West because each one has something a little bit different pertaining to the state resting, the state and the defense resting. All right, let me pull this information up here. KGET is the source, everybody. My first source pertaining to this case.
Day 20 in the West trial, the couple accused of killing their two adopted sons, Orrin and Orson. Today, defense counsel continued to point out conflicting stories they say were told by the couple's eldest child under investigators' questioning about the boys' disappearance. The defense questioned their expert witness, Dr. Susan Napolitano, who testified that interviewers influenced the West's oldest child with coercive tactics, and therefore the answers are not reliable. Dr. Napolitano said she found some things highly atypical when reviewing the California City Police Department's interview of the child, particularly when Officer Brian Hansen asked if the boy knew killing someone or assisting in the killing of someone was wrong.
This timeline.
17's Jason Katowski covers the courts for us on our website, kget.com, and he has covered this trial from day one. Jason, tell us more about what Dr. Napolitano said about how children should be questioned during these forensic interviews.
Napolitano said there's been a series of protocols developed when questioning children because they're very susceptible to suggestive questioning. She said children should be placed in a kid-friendly room and questioned by someone not in uniform or wearing a gun who is friendly and has qualities that the child will find non-threatening. She said it's important to ask not open-ended questions, not yes or no or multiple choice questions because those could be leading. Instead, let the child speak for themselves about what they saw. A child's cognitive abilities must be taken into consideration, and there should be a simple question such as, what did you have for breakfast, to get a sense of their cognitive and language abilities early in the interview. Napolitano said examples of improper questioning techniques with a child would be leading, suggestive, coercive, repeated, or social pressure questions.
So what exactly did Napolitano find was wrong regarding the social worker's questioning of the West's eldest child?
She said in her opinion, the social worker made a number of mistakes. She found leading, coercive, and peer pressure questioning. For example, at one point, the social worker told the boy, your other brother said this, and then asked what he thinks, which Napolitano said put pressure on the child to give a similar answer as his brothers. She's also said the social worker engaged in what she called implantation of ideas, using, in her words, dramatic, scary words when she asked the boy about some of his brothers being, quote, spanked till they bleed, unquote. And she said she also believes she heard skepticism in the interviewer's voice, and she heard the social worker at one point repeatedly ask the child the same question to get him to conform with what one of his brothers said. But under cross-examination, Napolitano acknowledged she had not reviewed the 2,000-page offense report generated in this case or other evidence presented at trial, merely the children's interviews.
Okay, so what happens tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow, Judge Charles R. Bremer is going to read the jury instructions to the jury at 2 p.m. That could take about an hour, and then they're dark on Friday. The court won't be in session either on Friday or Monday. Closing arguments are expected at 9 a.m. Tuesday, and after that, the case goes to the jury.
All right. So a little bit less time for this whole case than what was anticipated.
Yes, originally it was expected that the case could run as long as until into June, yes, before the jury gets it. So we're a couple weeks ahead of schedule, and deliberations will start next week.
All right. 17's Jason Katowski, and I know we can read more about today's developments on kget.com.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, everybody, kget.com is the source. So this trial was supposed to run into possibly June. It is now the middle of May, approaching the middle of May, and the jury will possibly get it next week. Tuesday is when they will resume. Today's the day that the jury is to get instructions on how to deliberate. So we have a couple of days to simmer and dissect this case, this trial. That is why I have the link dropped so you can give me your opinion pertaining to what you have heard via the court and recordings pertaining to the testimonies of all the witnesses, the children. Naturally, we didn't get to see what the people look like in court, but I will say from what I just saw here in this video, KGET 17 News, they look dead sitting there in the courtroom, Jacqueline and Trezell. She's sitting there looking like a damn mummy. He's sitting there looking like a bald-headed mummy because they don't know what to think. They don't know what's on the minds of these jury. They don't know if their lawyers did a good job representing them. They know that the testimony has come from their own damn children. That one saw a kid dead, touched a dead kid. They confessed that the child was dead. And then later the child disappeared. Then they moved and another child disappeared. Their own family member testified they didn't see the children. They're sitting there looking like, Lord, have mercy. Everybody in the family been told they ain't seen our kids. Yet we got to try to make these people believe the kids wandered off or somebody else kidnapped them or a biological parent relative kidnapped them. But yet nobody has seen the kids. So it's a lot more than just the children testifying. Your own family and neighbors have said, we haven't seen the children. Now, naturally, people can get children mixed up. Other races do have a problem identifying Black people, Black children. That's just a known fact. It's not to be biased or racist, but a lot of people cannot identify Black people. So if you've seen 5, 6 little Black kids running around, can you honestly say you know what they look like verbatim? Let's be truthful. Hello, Adrian. Can you say verbatim, yes, I know that child, that child, that child, or that guy, that man, that lady from some other people? Because we know that a lot of people can't tell Asian people from each other. But I can tell you, I could tell a Chinese person from a Japanese person. Because see, a lot of people don't focus on the features. But they do have different features. Some people can't see it, but all Asian people don't look alike. You see where I'm going? All Black people don't look alike. All white people don't look alike. You have to be able to differentiate. This is where paying attention comes in. Hello, Linda. Thank you for watching. Did the state prove their case against the two? Because we have no forensics. We don't have any phone data. We don't have any phone pings. We don't have anybody. We only have one person testifying that they saw something suspicious at a dumpster once. But that could have been anything being put in the dumpster by the two. They had a lot of kids. They'd have a lot of trash. Two parents going to empty the trash. What can you say? And if you were so hysterical, let's keep it real. You were so hysterical about what you thought was going on that night or day with noise, and then you see him at the dumpster. Why didn't you call 911? Why didn't you call the landlady? See, this goes back to the same BS with the Sheena Kyle's case. Everybody's hearing all this noise and bumping and crashing and glass crashing, but don't nobody call 911. And I have a problem with this because I'm really getting fed up with hearing people come out and tell stuff after people have gone missing, after the children have gone missing, after the people have been found dead, hacked up, chopped up, burnt up. Here comes, oh, I remember that night they was at the dumpster. Oh, I remember the night they were hauling out furniture. Oh, I remember the day I saw them put a bloody mattress at the dumpster. Well, it's kind of late for that. Yeah, they was pulling up the carpet and put new carpet in. I thought that was strange. And of course, naturally, you can't go call the police because the person decides to put new carpeting in or take carpeting out. But when you hear something suspicious, you see something suspicious, you don't think, maybe I should call the police. And naturally, you want to be a nosy Karen, meddlesome Karen, nosy Parker, invading your neighbor's privacy Every time they come out, you're acting like they're doing something suspicious. But there comes a time when maybe you should call the police. Because this mentality has got to stop. This, I don't give a damn. It don't concern me. It ain't none of my business. What's in it for me? Well, you can't say that because you're going to be on the end of the stick one day. Your mom, your dad, your kid is going to be in that situation one day. And you will be standing in front of the news crying about your loved one. And why didn't anybody say anything? Why didn't anybody run help? Because they had your attitude. Because they had your attitude. You see, you can't live in the world and be oblivious to what's in the world. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. Let's read the said information. A social worker interviewed the eldest child of Giselle and Jacqueline West says they used coercive, suggestive questioning techniques may have implanted false memories in the boy's mind, a psychologist said Wednesday. Susan Napolitano, the final witness called by the defense in the trial of the West, testified to what she said were multiple mistakes the interviewer made as she questioned the then 10-year-old boy about possible abuse in his home and what happened to his brothers, Orrin 4, Orson 3. There was a great deal of social pressure on this child during this interview, said Napolitano, a licensed clinical and forensic psychologist who has conducted about 100 forensic interviews with children and reviewed hundreds more. Her testimony is being used by the defense to cast doubt on the eldest child's statements that he witnessed Orrin die in September 2020 and Orson disappeared days later. Under cross-examination, however, Napolitano acknowledged not reviewing the 2,000-page offense report generated in this case or other evidence except for the children's interviews. The defense rested after Napolitano testified, and Judge Charles R. Brammer told the jury all the evidence has been presented. Jury instructions will be given at 2 o'clock today, and closing arguments will be presented Tuesday. The West did not testify. They are charged with the murder and other offenses in the deaths of Orrin and Orson, whose bodies have not been found. The prosecution says the boys died about 3 months before the West reported them missing on December 21st, 2020. The West maintained the boys disappeared that evening while playing outside. They're the adoptive parents of the children, and defense counsel has suggested a sex offender or member of the boys' biological family may be responsible. Timothy Hennessy, lead attorney for Giselle West, and Alexia Torres Stallings, lead attorney for Jacqueline West, have said authorities honed in on their clients from the beginning and failed to consider other theories or possible suspects. Questioned by Torres Stallings, Napolitano said interviewers must be very careful when questioning children. Forensic interviews of children should take place in a kid-friendly room, and the interviewer should not be in uniform, wearing a gun, should be friendly, and have qualities children will find non-threatening, she said. Once again, you can hit the link in this article where it says click here to get more information pertaining to Wednesday's session. Napolitano testified it's important to ask open-ended questions. Yes or no, or multiple choice questions could be leading. In her experience, it's unusual to see a child subjected to more than one forensic interview. The West's eldest child was interviewed 3 times by social worker Sonia Barton. Napolitano said Barton did a lot right, but she found a number of issues with her questioning techniques. For example, Barton put peer pressure on the child by telling him his brother said a certain thing, then asking what he thought. Napolitano said that question placed pressure on the child to give a similar answer. At another point in the interview, Napolitano said in her opinion, Barton would not accept the child's answer and repeatedly questioned him. She found that portion of Barton's questioning extremely leading. Given a hypothetical which matched the description of how the interviewers proceeded in the West case and in which children made inconsistent statements, Napolitano said she wouldn't know what statements to believe. On cross-examination, prosecutor Eric Smith pressed Napolitano on specifics of what she did to justify her estimated $35,000 to $42,000 payment from the county. Wow, a lot of money. She said she reviewed videos and transcripts of interviews, took notes, and testified. Napolitano said she did not write a report. Why not? Smith asked, considering the amount of money she was being paid. She said she wasn't asked. She said she had not reviewed other evidence in the case, her focus being the child interviews. That is the said information from yesterday's proceedings. So how do you all feel about this woman being paid almost $42,000 to give her testimony, being paid by the good citizens of Bakersfield, California, and the county, Kern County? See, these are a lot of things that go into cases that we really don't have information as such as this. These professional witnesses that come in, psychologists, forensic experts, they are being paid by the county for their testimony. So some could say, hell, they'll come in there and say anything for the right amount, for the right amount of money. Hell, a person will tell you anything for $10,000, $500, $35,000 to $42,000 to give a professional opinion. That's a lot of money. And we understand that this is a professional, but to be paid, one could judge that and say, well, hell, whether it's for the prosecution or the defense, hell, I'll say any damn thing, even if I don't even agree with what the hell I'm saying and what I heard and what I read. She said she did not write a report. She was not asked. Obviously, they didn't ask her to review other evidence in the case, the defense, which I would wonder why you wouldn't, but maybe they wouldn't want her to hear everything, because maybe she would then change her mind and say, well, this don't sound right. I don't think I can give an opinion pertaining to this other information that you've given me. So maybe that's why they didn't offer her other evidentiary material. But then we also have to say there isn't much other evidence to give except other relatives didn't see the kids. There's no hair, there's no fibers, there's no blood, spatter, matter, human matter, broken bones, anything from a human body found. Nothing found in the apartment, obviously. I would assume the investigators would have gone back to that said apartment to check, spray luminol through the house to see if anything comes up on the walls, the baseboards, the carpeting. And I'm assuming someone probably lives in that apartment where they derived from. Did they do those said things? And if they didn't, I can't see why they wouldn't have done that. This is a very baffling case. Please take the polls on my community page pertaining to Lori Vallow and this trial here, the West trial, because do you think the state has proven their case in the West case and also Lori Vallow Daybell? This is some serious drama going on here pertaining to all of these cases. They're just so baffling. So baffling. The link is in the chat. If you want to hit it, come up on the panel and join me to give your opinion pertaining to both cases. Oh. Yeah. And that's the gist of the story, is that the children didn't have a chance, because you just don't end up in these type of situations happenstance. They were neglected as children. That is the reason why each child was taken from the bio mother 1 year apart. And I find it baffling that you get one child taken, then you get knocked up pregnant with another kid, and then that child gets taken within a week, let her tell it, and nobody finds that disturbing. You know, no one's trying to say that what these people are accused of doing is right. We know it's wrong. But you also have to remember the children had a start. So everybody's, running around trying to dismiss what happened to the kids earlier. Well, it looks like to me the kids wouldn't have had a chance anywhere. Because this is what happens with children in foster care. They go from place to place, place to place. And you wouldn't think that children this age would get sent from place to place. But at some point, things change in the household. Children start not getting along. Parents start not getting along with the kids. The kids don't like it there. And before you know it, the kid's there for a couple of years as a toddler. And then they might get to 8, start acting out, whatever. Boom. They call the worker to come pick up the kid. And as I've brought you stats from the FBI, this is the age group that children are murdered by their parents or custodian. 7 and younger. And naturally, children older than 7 have been murdered by their parents But this is a pivotal age that children are murdered by their biological and or adoptive parents. All right, everybody, I'm going to bring you another article pertaining to this case because, as I said, each one has a little bit of different information pertaining to the case. Let's see. That was KGET.com. Let's see what News 23 has to say about the West trial. After reviewing recorded interviews between Trezell, Jacqueline West's eldest son, once again, because I brought you this information just a few minutes ago, Dr. Susan Napolitano said she believed the child had been questioned improperly in ways that could have resulted in false memories and allegations. How do you all feel about that statement? Do you think open-ended questions, comparing their answers to another child's answers, would lead a child to say, yeah, okay, I'll go on and change my viewpoint since you said my brother said this? I guess it depends on the child. Was it inappropriate for her to compare his answers to what the other children said? Because naturally, I could see the 10-year-old having more accurate information than the smaller children. But then you have to also ask the savviness of the other children. As they said in this commentary that I read earlier, you have to learn the child's pattern of speech, knowledge, how knowledgeable the child appears, and then you'll know how to go about questioning him or her. False memories and allegations. So I'm just going over things really that's already been said. This is what she said about the child. December 22nd, 2020, she assessed that the child had been woken up and questioned almost immediately by police. She said details that stood out to her were officers asked the child if he knew it was wrong to kill someone or help kill someone. Napolitano said that this was a leading question, and the officer followed by asking about Orrin and Orson. She explained that there are specific protocols in place to prevent false memories and allegations when interviewing children. She said one of the most important protocols is to conduct a forensic interview as soon as possible and only one in order to prevent contamination. A forensic interview was done that same day by Sonia Barton. During this interview, Napolitano said she saw many things done right, like asking open-ended questions and following up. She also pointed out things she said should not be done. One thing she noticed was social pressure when asking the child about possible abuse. In one instance, Napolitano said she heard Barton tell the child, "What will it take for you to tell me?" in reference to abuse allegations. Do you find that inappropriate? This lady saying this to the child, "What will it take for you to tell me?" So that makes an inference that she felt opposite, that the child was lying. Interesting. Well, maybe she said that because she had heard different versions from the other children. I don't know. Now, Napolitano said Barton would repeat questions to the child until he said a specific answer, something Napolitano said should not happen in a forensic interview. Once again, on cross-examination, the prosecution pointed out that Napolitano was being paid to provide her expertise of an estimated $35,000 to $42,000 from the county. And the prosecutor, Mr. Smith, asked Napolitano if she had read the nearly 2,000-page offense report, and she said she hadn't. In an attempt to discredit Napolitano, and now this is information that was not in the other article, he asked her about a lawsuit that had been filed against her in a previous case for alleged bias towards her client. Napolitano confirming a suit had been filed, but that the judge dismissed it, citing no bias on her part. Now, I just mentioned that when you're being paid this amount of money, and you know that you're going to be making a nice bit of money when they first come to you to ask you to assess the evidence and the information before you even give the yay, nay, whatever, you can give any opinion you want to give. And it's up to the defense or the prosecutor if they want to use you to give information in the trial, because naturally you all would have to converse about what you read and what your assessment is, and then you say yes or no. Yes, I agree that your client did this, or I agree your client didn't do this. So they had to have gone over what her assessment was of the interviews with the children, and if she went and told the defense, yeah, I feel like they didn't interview the children properly, then they said, okay, well, you're hired. Please give your opinion, and now we'll cut you a check. But here in this information, our client felt like she was biased in their case, and the information was brought before a judge, and the case was dismissed. Smith also asked Napolitano if she knew he requested all her notes regarding this case. Napolitano said she had not been aware of that request. Before finishing his cross, Smith requested those notes. The trial has concluded its evidence portion. Closing arguments are expected to begin Tuesday at 9 a.m. And as most of you know, I'm on Eastern Standard Time from California. So I am 3 hours ahead of California time. 23 ABC, Bakersfield News, is the source. So in this information, we got a little something different, that she had a client that filed a suit against her, that she was biased in her commentary. It was dismissed by a judge. We also hear that the prosecution has asked to see her notes, and she said that she did not know that they needed them or wanted them. She had not been aware of the request to get her notes. I wonder if that's true or not. So he wants her notes. So I guess he wants to see what she really wrote down pertaining to this case and what she thinks was wrong and right from the social worker questioning the kids initially in this investigation. Oh, wow. What a mess. This is a two-part live pertaining to Lori Vallow Daybell. The jury will be deliberating her fate. Will they find her guilty or not guilty? Second part of this live is pertaining to Jacqueline and Trezell West, who are on the West Coast, California. And they will be judged by a jury of their peers to decide if they have committed fraud of dialing 911 services for children that were not missing, and also the murder of their two children via conversation from their children, that they saw a child dead, touched a cold child, and they had a conversation with the said child allegedly about the dead boy. And then they moved from Bakersfield, California, from where they allegedly killed that child and lived with their other children, moved to Cal City, and a second child went missing. This is testimony from the oldest biological son. What is interesting is that his testimony is too descriptive to be made up. And it's not to say that children cannot lie. But if this child loves his parents, he wants to be with his parents. And that's something I have not heard in testimony. Did anybody ask him, do you love your parents? Do you want to go back home? Because that will help in bearing information in deciding if you believe his testimony. If he said, yes, I miss my family, I love them, I miss my brothers, then one might want to say, well, he's lying and making up testimony on certain things. But if a child is telling you in the beginning of an investigation that I love my parents, I miss them, please don't separate us, then I can see him making up something to the effect, hey, the kids moved there with us to Cal City. But if he initially told you that one of the children didn't go to Cal City, then I would think he was telling the truth, whether he loved his parents or not, whether he wanted scared to be separated from his parents or not. See, but that's the problem right now, is that they're saying that the children gave variances in their testimonies pertaining to the children. Well, the smaller children may not have a good of a memory as an older child. Like I said, each child is different. Most children these days are very savvy, especially as toddlers. They can talk well. They notice things. They pay attention to detail. But every child is not the same. So we have to ask ourselves the obvious. How savvy were these children at the time of the interrogation? Could they understand basic information? Did they have good memory at the time? Did any of them have any developmental issues, with some a little slower than the other children. So you have to ask all those type of questions when you're asking personal questions about children and abuse. Very interesting information. Thank you all so much for joining me in the chat. If you want to come on the live stream up on the panel to give your opinion pertaining to Lori and the West, feel free to hit the link in the chat. It is here at your disposal. So join me. 23 ABC News is the source of that information, everybody. Two o'clock in East Tennessee. Adrian, you're a mess. I don't think it would matter with either couple. These people, Adrian, they're all oblivious to what's going on in the world. I'm telling you, Jacqueline and Trezell, they're sitting in court staring straight ahead like damn zombies. And then over here in Idaho, you've got Lori's stupid tail skinning and grinning. One of the pictures they depicted of her, she's grinning in the sketch. And I thought, this is crazy. This woman is probably going to die in prison, and she's sitting here smiling in court. It just lets you know that these are two sets of different people, but they're on the same airplane. Their minds are out there in La La Land. They have selfishly killed their kids for whatever reason, and they're cut from the same cloth. One's Hispanic, one's black, one's white, but they're all evil and diabolical. Because in the West case, really similar, you can explain two little boys going missing, together or separate. Why those two kids? Why those other kids didn't get kidnapped, allegedly? Why the other kids didn't wander off? So two itty bitty spiders wandered off, but no other kids wandered off. It's bullshitting, you know it. Oh yeah, that's right, because the other kids were at Wanda's house. We kept these kids behind for some reason. Okay. Whatever. The lies we tell. It's just BS. But sadly, there'll be somebody that will be on the jury panel, and they'll believe them. They'll believe the lies. And some will say, well, most of this is circumstantial. In the West case, Lori, you have a little more because you got the bodies. They're found on the husband's property. You've got them talking in text about dark spirits, light spirits. You know, she's basically asking Chad to give a rendering on the children, and when is it going to be time to dispose of them in a, simple fashion. So there's more information, more incriminating than in the West case. You don't have them talking about the children at all. They didn't have any pictures of the children, which is very suspect. You've got all these kids, but you don't have any pictures of these kids. So see, that's very highly circumstantial evidence. All these children you have, but you don't have any pictures of the ones that happen to be missing. You have to admit that's peculiar. Yes, she should suffer. That's why I said, just like in the case of Tashina Kyle, this bottom feeder, little nappy head Negro killed this girl, and he's sitting up in court, fat and chunky, living off the money from the Knoxville taxpayers, killing this lady, and want to say, oh, she killed herself. Yeah, so how did she get in a toolbox? Just ignorant. Just ignorant. He should get what he gave to Sheena. You shot her in the head? Well, you should go before the firing squad. Idaho says, hey, we don't have the medicine to inject in your arm. We'll line you up and shoot you. And yeah, that seems cruel. But hey, as somebody would say, people are shot all the time. Isn't that what your lawyer said? There's nothing cruel about her death. He didn't torture her. That's a lot of states lying. Well, I think being stuffed in a toolbox would be abuse of a corpse, because he could have left her dead where she was. And if he really cared for her and he found her dead, why wouldn't you call 911? Oh, but why are you breaking in her house to find a dead woman? Let's go back to that. Oh, yeah, I just happened to break in her house. And oh, my goodness, I found her dead. And I decided to stuff her in a toolbox and put her in my great-grandmother's abandoned house in a crawl space because I care for her so much. It's bullshit. Welcome to the Vault XL. Frank commentary on true crime, craziness, and nonsense. The macabre, evil doers. There's a case out of Texas I've been meaning to bring you all for over a month because I've gotten so wrapped up in this case, and I was behind a couple of weeks in my commentary back in March. The case of the lady who killed her boyfriend's girlfriend or lover, the cyclist. I've been meaning to bring that case. Hell, it's probably halfway over now. I'm really tired of talking about true crime. I've had just about all I can take. I want to be done with this murder every day. It's too much. And following these trials, it's just a lot of work. Adrian, that's the reason why they moved to Cal City. Nobody could make me believe different. Right now, they're playing their opening statements, the state and the defense. You should listen to what the defense said about Jacqueline and Trezell. I might need to play that for some of you so you can get a good laugh of them meeting each other, falling in love, and she changed his mind about religion and blah, blah, blah. She changed his mind about what? Excuse me? You mean this same lady that liked to restrain children by putting her arm around their throat? That sounds real Christian-fied to me. Hell, just choke your kids to death to make them act right. Jesus said, this is another Lori. Jesus said, choke them. That'll get them to act right. Take your legs and pin their legs down. They're itty-bitty spiders. Just hold them down till they can't breathe anymore. That'll make your kids act right. And Jesus said to do that. Hell, maybe they're related. Jacqueline and Lori Vallow. BS. That was a great video. Seeing that place was very touching and heartbreaking. Makes you really kind of connect with the victim. Honor, what are you talking about? When I went to that house? Hey, Alicia, long time. Haven't heard from you in a while. Hit the link. Give your opinion pertaining to Lori. The time is winding down. The time is winding down for the West. Court will resume on Tuesday out in California. The jury will be getting this case. What in the world? Hold on a minute. Hear these crazy cats outside making noise. Got cats out here fighting. Dear God, help me. All right, everybody, I'm back. Sorry about that. Cats out here fighting. If you all don't get your butts off my porch with that nonsense. Got enough violence going on in the world. Thank you, Leah. Thank you so very much. Jacqueline literally has no facial expressions, good or bad. Creep. Yeah, she's just sitting there. I mean, like a zombie, just staring off into space. And Trezell, he's sitting in there, blind as a bat, his lashes just blinking, you know, like an out of control stoplight. I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, somebody help me. Blink, 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 blink. He's blinking and she's staring and ain't blinking. He's blinking out of being nervous. She's staring. She's like, I'm telling you, go back to this first, I believe that was KGET, and they show them sitting in court. They look like two dead people sitting upright in chairs. I kid you not. They are numb. They are numb. Nothing like Lori Vallow. Lori is, cheerful, swinging her hair, laughing, grinning, scribbling on her notes, doodling. These two are staring ahead like mummies. Hello, Purple and Gold. Thank you all so much for joining me. I appreciate you all tuning into this live stream. This is a two-part live stream. For those that are following the Vallow case and the West case, they are narrowing down to the nub now. And it is just a matter of time that the jury will make a decision in both cases. I'm so glad that they're over with. I'm glad that they will be finalized. We can get some type of rest and justice for these children and adults who have been brutally murdered by these sick, wacko people. And as I've told you all, you need to be aware of your surroundings, the company that you keep. You need to really think about your own actions, the way you talk, things you say. You just need to be aware of your surroundings. And when you hear and see people making, crazy commentary about things that are not funny, and they're, joking about hurting people, murdering people, you need to be leery. Because a lot of times we do say things when we're angry. Somebody's done something to us that's spiteful, whatever. But you just need to be careful the things that you say, because it may come true. The next thing you know, you're sitting up here looking in a courtroom yourself. Because somebody said, well, he said he wanted to kill him. And you're sitting here trying to tell people, no, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. You just never know. Unlike this group here, they appear to be guilty. We'll just leave it at that. Definitely with Lori. Lori's behavior is just asinine to me. Just this giddy, happy-go-lucky unicorn chasing. It's just sad to me. And then over here in the West case, they're staring off in the courtroom like they've been in a deep freezer for 20 years and just let out. It's just sad. Adrian, stop, please stop. Oh my goodness. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hit the link. Hit that link. Come on up. Tell the queen what you think. Hit that https:// link to give your opinion. Do you think Lori will be found guilty? Wes, do you think they will be found guilty? Did the state prove their case in both trials? What did the state do good? What did the state do not so good? Weigh in. Give me your opinion. Give me your opinion. Please check out my videos pertaining to Dashina Kyle. I went out to the house where she was disposed of. Please check out that commentary. It's a little grainy because you're back up in the woods, so the data, I guess, wasn't registering well when I went live from my phone. But please check out that video. And after that live stream, I went to the actual location of her apartment where she was allegedly murdered, inside of that apartment. And I go in front of the apartment door, then I go around the back of the building to show you the window where Mr. John Bassett is accused of breaking and entering. And I also talked to neighbors. I just so happened to hit the second door. The first building I came to, I asked one lady about the death of the girl. She hadn't lived there long. So then I went down to the next door and just so happened to be a neighbor that lived right above her catty corner at that time that heard the crash of the window the night John Bassett murdered her. I mean, what are the odds of that? Because they could have been living anywhere in the apartment building or not even living on the property. So God must have meant for me to go to that second door. I can't remember if that lady told me to go to his door or not. But anyway, it was, to me, a blessing that I was able to talk to these people and get that information out. Although nobody called 911, perhaps Miss Dashina could be alive today before he was able to get in there and kill her. Because, we don't know how long he was in the apartment. Maybe he was talking to her at first, arguing with her. Maybe they fought. See, we don't know. We have to wait for the evidence. But let's just say he was in there for a while before he shot her. She could possibly be alive today had somebody called 911 when he broke the window. See, people don't think about things like that. You don't want to get involved. You don't want to say anything. But maybe had one of you all called, she would be alive today. She would be alive today. Yes. Nate asking, yes, they're sociopaths. Yeah, I watched that the other day. That's why I was telling everybody to go back and watch that East Idaho News coverage of the reporter who was asking her where the children are. Hey, people are praying for your kids. Hey, what you going to do when you go to court? The judge asking you to surface the kids. Once again, just like Jacqueline and Trezell, staring off into space, walking hand in hand. And that's what's even more creepy and morbid. You're buying wedding dresses, wedding rings, getting married 2 weeks after this. You've killed this lady. You're holding hands and taking photographs like a Hallmark moment. Postcard from the edge. It's creepy as hell. But this is what goes on in the world. This is what people need to see. That there are people walking around that you're talking to at the grocery store and your neighbor and your church member. And they're out here plotting the deaths of people, killing kids. And they're sitting here taking pictures on the beach, holding hands. And people probably looking at them like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Look at them. They got married. Little do they know they've got some dead kids on their damn property back in damn Idaho. This is macabre. This is why you can't say you know people. You don't know people. I've crossed the paths with many people who have done some evil things to human beings, such as this. They've murdered people. They've been paroled from prison. They're walking around. Whether they robbed them, stole from them, had an altercation, gang-related, they're free. And you're entitled to believe what you want of the storyline, feel how you want about these people, given a second chance at freedom. And then you have this group here walking around saying, Jesus Christ Superstar told me to kill them. I have no remorse for killing my damn kids and my spouse. God told me to do it. But look at them now. Oh, Lord. We're in desolate times now. We are in desolate times. People are they have no remorse. I mean, it's one thing to do something wrong and you actually feel guilty about what you did, or maybe you feel guilty down the road. You repent, you ask God to forgive you, and you try not to do it again. But when it comes to plotting the deaths of people that have done nothing to you, plot the deaths of your own children, you're just in an entirely different league. And I understand that God sees sin as sin, no matter what the sin is, but I'm a human, so I'm of the flesh, so I can see things differently than how God views sin. I just think you're the worst of a human if you decide to kill people for no damn reason. It's not like you're being attacked. Somebody was trying to mug you, rape you, or put you in a car, or stuff you into something, and you're trying to preserve your life. Yeah, you have every right to preserve your life. But to just sit one day and say, oh yeah, I was listening to this podcast and he told me I was a unicorn 5 years ago, and 60 years ago I was the princess of Wales, and I got to kill my kids because I'm the chosen one. I've got to gather up 144,000 something. Give it a rest. God ain't told you to do none of that. God ain't chose you to gather nobody. God ain't chose you to lead nobody. God ain't told you your kids were dark, your husband was dark. God ain't told you nothing. You have been talking to Satan. Satan told you your kids were dark. Satan told you your husband was dark. And Satan forgot to tell you you're a dumbass and you're dark. And he's using you to do his work. That's the part Satan left out in the conversation. Jesus was nowhere around when that conversation took place. And that's what these sickos need to get. And if Chad's got any sense, he needs to take a plea so he doesn't get the death penalty, because he is going to get offered the death penalty because those kids were found on his property. His wife was asphyxiated. So they've got him with 3 deaths. He's a goner. He's a goner. They find Lori guilty, bruh. You better take the plea and just try to Do the best you can in that prison. That's it. Put an end to this madness. Because like they said, all the people that testified here in Lori's trial, they now got to go run over there and testify in Chad's case. They have spent a lot of money trying Lori, and it will be just as expensive trying Chad Daybell. And people don't understand it about trials. They cost money. Filing paperwork is expensive. Running the copier all day. Putting all this information in the computer. As you see, expert witnesses being paid $40-something thousand to pop up in court and give their damn opinion. I didn't even remember that they paid expert witnesses for their testimony. So really, you can't judge other people for lying in court and say, well, I don't think he's telling the truth. She's not telling the truth. Hell, you just gave somebody a $35,000 check to say yay or nay. Do you know what you can do with $42,000 straight cash money in your bank account right now? I just want you to think about that for a second. That's a lot of money. And just imagine getting a $42,000 check to testify in the West trial, and then you're called to testify in another trial 2 weeks from now. And then at the end of that trial, they cut you another $40,000 check. Do you all see where I'm going? Do you know how much money you can make just getting the checks alone in testifying in a damn trial? You don't even have to practice your psychology profession. Just run an office to be called to go to court and give your expert opinion. That's a hustle in itself. You see the things you learn from dealing with the law? You learn a lot. Wow, what a whirlwind. Penny says, I'll quit dating people. Quit dating people are scary. I would love what the cellmates think of these roommates. Well, they're probably not going to think much of nothing. They're probably just like them. Lori will probably be put in solitude. Chad will be put in solitude so nobody won't kill them, cut their throat. Yes, Purple says it's all a hustle at the taxpayer's expense. Exactly. Taxpayers are paying for the people in the jail. Taxpayers are paying the money to pay these expert witnesses. So everybody needs a break. Right now, gas is high, up and down, up and down. Detergent bottles are shrinking. Candy sizes are shrinking. Everything's shrinking and the prices are going up. Food's high. It's bad out here. And it's always the little person that gets the brunt of it. They end up having to suffer because they don't make enough money to be able to afford things, to live the way they want to live, take care of their children the way they want to take care of their children, better their situation. We're just in a jacked up world right now. Bonnie says the same. Yeah, I don't date either. Cannot trust anyone. Maybe I'll do a live stream on that. How's your dating life going? Because I told you I don't want to continue to talk about this. I'm not a true crime channel. Let me make that clear for those who are new to this network. And thank you if you have just subscribed. I talk about various topics. I may talk about politics one day. I may talk about dating. I may talk about homosexuality. I may talk about transgender, getting surgeries for children. That's another topic I may want to touch on. A lot of insurances are now not paying for transgendered children to have surgeries, which I agree. I don't think anyone should be performing surgeries on a child to change his or her sex. That's my personal opinion. You want to change your sex, your identity, you can do that when you are 18 years of age. But I don't believe in that because many people who have had surgeries done, especially those men who have tried to convert to a female, which we know you can't. But anyway, they have regretted it because there have been many complications. And naturally, you should know getting your private parts cut into two. How in the world did you think that was going to work? I mean, come on now. Hello, Don. Thank you for joining me, sweetheart. Oh, okay, Don. So you can't give your opinion because you got your tooth pulled. What are your thoughts about hair DNA? Didn't search for kids, mislead police about whereabouts of children, use their credit cards. So many evidence, even some circumstance, still easy conviction, right? Well, Ms. Z, it's going to matter to the 12 members. If they can cohesively decide that she conspired to kill her children. She sent text messages near the end to get the ratings of their darkness. They were making jokes about the children in their emails and whatever they was, user account names. It's going to matter to the 12 members. I do believe that she's guilty. Yes, I do. And I do believe in the West trial, this couple, they harmed their children some way or fashion, and they hid it from law enforcement and other family members, possibly. And they filed a false police report in December of 2020. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll talk about regular stuff from here on out. I'm tired of talking about these dead people. Maybe once a month I'll do a crime vault, because I haven't done a crime vault in a couple of months. That's where I go back and dissect an older case of crime that happened that's possibly unsolved or solved, but I've got to give it a break. I may want to touch on that girl that killed that girl out west in Texas, because that was a very interesting trial. She went to her house and shot her, and then she went on a run, and they found her in a foreign country, and she had got a nose job. But still, that guy recognized her. I think she had dyed her hair. She dyed her hair. She cut it shorter. It was curly, naturally curly. And he still recognized her as being a fugitive. I want to thank you all so much for following this content in this network. I really appreciate it. And once again, if you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are welcome during this live stream. You all are welcome to come up and hit the link. I have the link in the chat. If you scroll up a little ways, you can join me. Give your opinion pertaining to this case. I'll put it in one more time. If not, I'm going to check out of here if nobody hits the link, because I'd like to get me some rest today. I need to go to work, so I have another job, but we'll see how I fare here in a second. Oops, I forgot something. Oh, Lord. Oh, you're very welcome, sweetheart. Very welcome. Yeah, it's daunting to continuously talk about these people and their kids. And I don't really like talking about children's stories pertaining to death and murder and abuse. And it becomes old and redundant. And it's no disrespect to the children. It's just, it wears me down. And even just, watching the true crime on TV is enough for me. But talking about it every day on the channel, it's just, I can't do it. I just feel like there's a lot of more things worthwhile talking about. We have a lot of things that go on in the world, good and bad. And rarely do I ever bring a happy story to the network. I rarely talk about anything happy in a live stream. I may post it on my community board or share somebody else's post of somebody's, birthday or famous person's birthday, or a veteran turned 100 years old, something like that. But it's time to focus more on good news and other subject matters that are pressing in the news and things that affect us as human beings. Frankly, I like going out to the street and talking to people about their lives and how they got to where they are, and if they're in a good place, bad place. I just like talking to people and letting them share their stories. But nobody ever wants to talk on camera. Nobody ever wants to give their opinion. And everybody's got an opinion about something, but when it comes to them talking on the camera, they don't want to talk. And even if you say, well, I can hide your face there. No, that's okay. So it's like pulling teeth trying to get people to speak. I mean, I got to be talking about 1,001 topics right now. I can't get anyone to show up and follow through. That's the problem. Monty, yeah, I'm kind of tired. Debbie said, were they drug abusers? I never heard if they were. I think there were rumors, Debbie, at the beginning of the story when the children went missing, that they may have used. But see, that's the thing about this case. You don't really have concrete evidence on anything. You see, they don't even have forensics. So you can't even say that they used drugs. You're going on rumors from people in the street. And then you have to ask yourself, well, if you heard that rumor, where'd you get it from? Because nobody's talking about them. Nobody ever came forward to the news to talk about them, good or bad. So how would you know if they used or drank? I think somebody dug in their garbage can and said there were a lot of, allegedly, alcohol bottles in their trash bin. I don't know if that was true or not. But hell, if you're living a lie, I'd say you'd be drinking a lot of alcohol too. Just saying. You know, maybe they were drinking a lot of alcohol before the children went missing. Maybe that's part of their problem as far as being abusive to the children. And then the homeschooling, who knows? Was that because of COVID, or that's just some religious or political personal decision? I don't know. But I can't see them getting their children back, even if they're found. Let's say somebody hangs the jury next week, or they're found not guilty. I still can't see the state giving them their kids back. God, I hope not. And then you have to ask yourself the ultimate question too. If they felt like these people were innocent, the state, they would have still been able to keep custody of their children. But they went off the testimony of their one son, and that nobody saw the children anymore. So why would I give you your kids back if your son is telling us they saw a dead kid? He was cold. You all talked about the boy being dead. Then he disappeared. Then you went and bought a house out of the blue. And then that kid went missing. Hell no, I ain't giving you the damn kids back. No, you don't need any kids. You don't need a puppy, a goldfish, a bird. You don't need anything. These are people that you don't even give pets to. You know, we're talking about Pet Cemetery Central here. You give them a damn dog, cat. Hey, where's that cat you had? Oh, he's in the backyard buried. Well, where's the dog? He's in the backyard buried. Where's the bird? He's in the backyard buried. We'll give these people anything. You give them a goldfish. The goldfish be dead in 20 minutes. Give them nothing. Yes, I heard that she was found guilty. Yes, I'm praying for a guilty verdict for all of these jokers. Especially Chad. He can't even talk his way out of a guilty verdict. There are tools on your property with the girl's DNA. If that don't send chills up your spine, the thought that we don't know how she was murdered, she's chopped up, charred, masses of her flesh burnt in a bucket. You can't get no more graphic and disgusting and vile than that. To know that a human being has been reduced to a mass of flesh in a bucket. I mean, man, if that strips your soul, just hearing the details in court. Now, imagine being the person that found the girl in the damn bucket. The fact that they found her heart, a kidney in the mass of that flesh. Man, that's deep. You got to have a strong stomach to even discover it. Number two, the person that performs, the autopsy, the anthropologist that goes through it to try to find bones and DNA. Oh, man. Then you talk about side of her face. So that means you had a head. Side of her face was charred and the other side wasn't. This is so macabre. You're getting bits and pieces of a whole human. And this bitch is sitting in court laughing and flipping her hair and grinning. Man, Lori needs to be beat the fuck down. Excuse my language. Oh, she makes me sick. And that fucking niece of hers, she needs to stand trial too. And that's a video I want to do before I finish talking about Lori Vallow Daybell, because I won't talk about her no more after the verdict. Melanie Patowski, wherever the hell you are, you need to be brought up on conspiracy charges with your stinking ass aunt, because you knew what was getting ready to happen to Charles. You got your uncle to help tried to kill your fucking husband. You knew she was going to kill her children, and you know about Tammy too. And Zalima, your ass is just as guilty. You sitting up there in court stuttering while you're testifying and every word's That should be your new name, Zalima. Like somebody on TV said the other day, dear God, how many other people might have known that all these people were going to be murdered? That's a damn good question. Because these two broads knew something. And I believe, Zalima, I believe you helped kill Alex. All that putting on, he laid me across the bed and we bought a tarp and, oh, I was put in such a deep sleep. And what were you trying to say? That he drugged you? You're full of shit. You're full of shit, lady. You were right there in the midst of all that drama. And I believe Alex confessed to you everything he did before he died. And what are the odds that the henchman dies? Yeah, he had some heart problems, all right. He didn't have a heart. Well, that's what he voted on. No death penalty for her. I think, like they said, it was hard for them to put a woman to death. I don't know why. She killed those people, man. She's not even a human being, so what do you care that she's a woman? Who gives a damn? She's a long, blonde-haired killer. In the story. In the story. Wouldn't give a damn. She didn't even know her wedding day. Oh, Lord. Well, Lee, she shouldn't have been given immunity. They didn't give Sammy the Bull immunity. He testified that he helped kill a lot of people, but he still did time. And that's what they should have gotten. You're still going to go to jail, sweetheart. You're just not going to get as much time. You're not going to get 20 to life or life in prison. But they deserve some years in prison for having knowledge. I really don't even think you should be able to walk free once you know that somebody's going to be murdered. That's just me personally. Because there's something in you that kept you from telling the truth about the deaths of these people and the conspiring of their deaths. So that still means there's something wrong with you to be walking around here knowing somebody killed somebody. Somebody's conspiring to kill their own fucking kid. The kids ain't done nothing. So why are you walking around holding that secret, but you get immunity? Hell no. Hell no. Listen at what you're saying. I want you to think about what you're saying. Zalima gets immunity and you don't think she didn't help kill Alex? Okay. Come on now. You knew about the murders of these people to be, and possibly after the fact, because I believe she knew from start to finish. And lo and behold, your husband, after he's killed all these people, pops up dead. And then Laura gets arrested. A trial commences. Detectives come to you. The state comes to you. Well, we know you know a little something, 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 but we're going to give you immunity if you tell us what you know. Hell no. Hell no. Miss Zalima, your ass going down too. She should have been the star witness, her and Melanie. Let me tell you something about people. You'd be surprised how quickly a person's version will change and the truth come out when you say, hey, I'm trying you for the murder of this one, this one, this one, this one. Your tune might change. These people are sick. And I still don't understand why Melanie was not put on the witness stand, the niece. Because I think her testimony would have been pivotal. No matter what she said, she would have broken down. She wouldn't have been able to tell the truth. Because once a person starts bombarding you with all the things you've done and what you've been accused of done and your behavior, you can sit up there and lie all day. People will see you for what it's worth. And I think the jury was cheated out of that opportunity. She should have been up there because she was riding along on this ride with Lori till the very end. So she should have been a witness. And she should be tried for conspiracy as well. That's my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. Melanie kids were going to be next. They were talking how dark they were. They should all be on death row for a week. Then well, that's what I'm saying. Because that's been the latest question too. Well, who was next on the hit list? You've killed this one. You've killed this one. You've killed this one. Exactly. Everybody's dark that's related to Lori. Who are you going to kill next? Your mother, your brother, Adam? Who? Kobe? Was Chad going to knock off any of his children? Oh, no, he loved his children. He made sure to give them little lump sums of money when he got that money from Tammy Daybell. And Lori's so stupid. You're sitting here knocking off your damn kids while this man's taking his life insurance money from his wife and giving them to his damn kids. So I guess he cared more about his kids than his wife. Yeah, okay. She kept trying to get her kids back, knowing to deem dark she should be tried. Yes, she should. All right, just then now on 11 Alive News, Young Thug, the rapper, has taken ill and sent to the hospital. Attorney concerned about his well-being. Oh, Lord. Well, we'll pray for his recovery. Probably the stress of being incarcerated. Being incarcerated can stress you out, whether you're guilty or innocent, especially if you think you might get a lot of time in prison. You can become ill. Obviously, that hasn't worked for Lori. She's been in jail a few years, and she's happy as a gay bird. Yes, most suspects are not recommended to testify because usually they can't answer the questions efficiently, especially when it's very suspect behavior that they've exacted. It just would be hard for you to testify. Even if she was to get up there and try to tell her truth, she would be doomed. She would be doomed. So as you see, Lori didn't testify. The West couple didn't testify because they know they can't answer those pivotal questions. Where were your children? Why would your child say your children been gone since September? How are you going to explain that? Hey, Lori, you're running around on an island. Where are your children? Why didn't you report your children missing? Well, what was she going to say? She's going to say the same thing she was saying when she was walking around with Chad. Nothing. God told me to do it. God said I'm chosen. I'm going to lead the 144,000. I had to do what God told me to do. And God didn't let you out that jail either, did he? Did you hear that, Lori? Jesus told you to kill your kids, but Jesus didn't get you out of jail. So I take it Jesus is what? He's mad at you? Oh my goodness. I can't with these people. Just scary. And what's sickening about this? There are more Loris out there. I just got information about some cult over in Africa where they found some more people dead in a forest. It was a notification I got this morning. I didn't open it up because I'm tired of opening up negative stuff. There are more people like Lori and Chad. There are more people trying to mislead people, use people, manipulate people. There's more people that's going to plot the deaths of their children, their husbands, their wives, their boyfriends, their exes. There's going to be more dead babies, more dead kids, abused kids. Because the world is tainted. There's people who are unstable, they're mentally disturbed, they're sociopaths, they're psychopaths. They have no empathy. They don't care about people. And this is why I keep trying to tell everybody, and I have to tell myself that when you see the signs of these people walking around and they don't care about anything, and 1 minute you're laughing with them about something, but then the next minute they're giving you some ill commentary about something, and you know in your spirit, hey, that ain't right, and they shouldn't even be talking like that. You really don't need to be dealing with them. You don't. And I tell myself, don't use adjectives. You do not need to be dealing with them. When they always talk crazy, ill talkers, Because I said I was going to do a live stream about that on another platform. People that are always negative about stuff. You can't say anything to them. They got a smart-ass comment. They got a negative comment. They're always trying to tell you how you should think and how you should feel. Well, you can't tell me how to feel. You're not in my shoes. You can't tell me how to feel. You don't know what I'm going through. I hate people that do that. Don't know you from a can of paint. Tell you how you should feel. And then if you're struggling and going through something, maybe you don't feel well, maybe you're having financial problems. Yeah, you can tell me to pray, but in the end, I still have to do something besides pray. Prayer works, yes. But then sometimes you have to do a little more than pray. But you can't tell people how to feel about things. And then in the end, sometimes people just don't want advice. They just want to mellow in what's going on. And if they want to mope a while, a little bit, let them mope. There'll be a day they'll wake up and they'll try to feel a little bit better. But I hate when people try to tell other people how they should feel about something. Because you're not in their shoes. You don't know what people are going through. So let them have that moment. They want to cry, they want to mope, they want to scream, they want to shout. Let them. It ain't you. It ain't your problem. What do you care? And that's what I'm learning about people more and more. People really don't give a damn about nothing. What you're going through, struggling, they don't care. You got health problems, they don't care. People say all day, oh, I'll pray for you. I hope everything works out. It's like people don't give a damn about you. And these people right here are evident of what kind of people are walking around, taking in children, but killing them, cutting up food and putting it in a fucking baby bottle. How is he going to drink food chopped up in a blender in a bottle? Please explain to me. And I want to talk about JJ for a minute, and then I'm going to check out of here. JJ's parents had drug problems, and then Kay and Larry gets custody of him. And then Charles and Lori come along and ask to take JJ as their own child. And Kay and Larry trusted them and handed over custody. Listen carefully to what I'm saying now, because the West is all similar. This baby has gone to 3 families to end up suffocated with a bag over his face, duct taped with plastic bags, hand and feet, and thrown in a shallow grave. Let me repeat that. 7 years old, raised by 3 sets of people to only end up suffocated in a plastic bag and thrown in a shallow grave. The West children, living from pillar to post with a bio mother. God only knows who was coming in and out of the houses and apartments where they were living. Go into foster care as infants. Go into another woman's house to stay. Then to the West house, allegedly. Adopted by them. And then dead by 3 and 4. Do you see the irony in both cases? The children are going from house to fucking house to only end up dead. They are similar. 2 black babies, 1 white boy. They're the same. They are the same. No one knew but God that their lives would be cut short, going from house to house. And I have told you all that it is not a good feeling, whether you are 3 months old, 3 years old, 13 years old, going from house to house. Whether you are in foster care or you're going from one relative's house to another relative's house. You don't feel loved when you're going from house to house. You're living with different people with different ways, different ideas, different mental problems, different religions. That is too much for a young person to dissect. because he can't get used to being a Muslim over here, a Protestant over here, don't believe in God over here, drunk over here, addict over here, radical religious person over here. Don't you get it? It's too much to deal with. Different attitudes, different sense, different momentums. You don't get a chance to catch your breath. Now, when you're a baby, you don't know anything. But imagine being a little person and looking up and seeing your mother. Then you're taken from her, and then you're looking up at somebody else. Then you look up, you're looking at another person. You don't know these people. Now imagine you're older, 8, 9 years old, moving around from house to house. They got a cat in this house. They got a dog in this house. They got a parakeet in this house. They got 15 kids in here. Somebody's paying attention to you over here. Somebody's abusing you over here. You don't get a chance to breathe. You don't get a chance to have an identity. And this is what I try to make people understand about children. They are resilient because they don't got no damn choice. So you people need to think about that when you're out here slumbering and having sex unprotected. You're not wearing condoms. You're not taking birth control pills. Think. Think. Stop the cycle of abuse. You can stop it. Your children don't have to be a product of what your environment was like. If you think you wouldn't be a good parent, that's okay. Don't have no kids. Don't get no pets. Stop the cycle. If you are somebody that continuously keeps having children, animals, it's all the same, and you know you're not doing a good job, stop. Stop having children. Stop procreating. Get yourself fixed. Get your tubes tied. Guys, get snipped. Do what you have to do. You don't want to be responsible. You don't want to pay child support. You don't want to rear children. Stop procreating. It is the simplest act. You can love sex all you want, but get yourself fixed. And you can do it how many times you want a day, with, without a condom. That's your damn business. But don't bring somebody else here who didn't ask to be here and won't have no self-control of their environment because they're too little to speak for themselves and they can't take care of themselves. And they're looking for a responsible adult to guide them through life. And they can't be guided if your ass is misguided. You jacked up. You are addict. You are druggie. You are drunk. You're mentally unstable, schizophrenic, PTSD, OCD, mean, evil-spirited, vengeful, vindictive, bitter, lonely, depressed. Your child ain't gonna make it. And you don't have the right to subject him or her to your bullshit. This is the very reason why adults behave the way they behave, because of how they were reared. And it is not to make excuses, but they carry the bullshit so long they don't know nothing else. And they don't attempt to try to change. That is what's wrong with all of us. We've gotten susceptible to our ways. And sometimes it's hard to teach a old dog new tricks. That's my message today. Once again, prayers to Dashina Kyle's family. I will bring you information pertaining to John Bassett's trial the end of this evening. Prayers to Larry and Kay and anyone who honestly cared for Charles Vallow, JJ Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell. Prayers to Tammy's sisters and family members. And prayers for the West boys that they will be found, have a proper burial. I want to thank you all for joining me and listening to this content and this network. Please check out my extensive library. I have thousands of videos in the queue pertaining to various subject matters. Check my community board out for said updates and breaking news. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mind the children, and please always be aware of your surroundings and the company you keep. And know that the one day you decide to say something pertaining to something you heard or saw, you may just indeed have saved a life. Thank you for your time. You have been listening to The Vault. Exhale. Thank you, sweetheart. God bless all of you.